everybody. Welcome to the No BS Zone. I'm Bernie Goldberg, and you're not. And I'm here with the Renaissance man of the Great Rocky Mountains, John Daly. John, hope all is well with you, and I know you have some housekeeping business to attend to.
Yeah, I am doing well, Bernie. I did want to talk about some things. So right now, for the month of December, we are running the biggest sale we have ever run for an annual membership to bernardgoldberg.com. It is just $25. That's 50% off the regular price. What that gets people is full access to the website, including exclusive columns from you, Bernie, along with exclusive video and audio commentary. They also get the weekly time machine trips, which people really enjoy. And also they'll get access to the comment section so they can have conversations with each other and with us and all that. So it's a real bargain. And the sale applies not just to the annual memberships, but also to the annual gift memberships. So if you're still looking for a nice gift for someone in your life who's into political commentary, that's a great idea. You get the same sale there. So we are hoping that people take advantage of that.
All right, let's start with a very big story this week, and one that has me really, really annoyed. Just when you think Donald Trump can't cross any more bright lines, that he can't get any more egotistical, can't get any more nasty, can't get any more vindictive, he shows how wrong you can be. Some of you know about the social media post he put up yesterday, Monday, that is, on Rob Reiner and his wife's brutal, tragic murder. Most decent people were shocked, appalled, and saddened by it. Not so much Donald Trump. I'm going to start out by reading something he said, and then I want to make a broader point about how this man is losing touch with reality, how he's becoming more and more and more unhinged by the day. And we better start waking up to the fact that saying, well, this is not Donald Trump, it's no big deal. That's not going to work anymore. So he said, Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away. Well, he didn't pass away. Number one, Mr. President, when you pass away, you die in your sleep. That's how you pass away. He was stabbed to death. Donald Trump, stabbed to death. Passed away together with his wife, Michelle. Get this, reportedly due to anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. Mr. President, Rob Reiner wasn't killed because of Trump derangement syndrome. You have Trump derangement syndrome, Mr. Trump. You have it. And you have another kind of TDS, Trump delusional syndrome. You're losing touch with reality. This is serious stuff. He went on to say on a Truth Social post, which has nothing to do with truth, by the way. He was known to drive people crazy, capital letters, crazy, by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump. With his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. I'm sorry, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a mental health professional, but this man is nuts. He is losing his mind. He ends this rant with, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. That sounds like satire. It sounds like a joke. After you say all that, you say, oh, by the way, I hope they rest in peace. I'm writing a column about this I wrote a column about this that just went up yesterday, Tuesday. I hope you'll read it. It'll be back up again on Thursday. I want people to see this. I'm gonna talk in a bit about, imagine how MAGA would feel if Joe Biden had said this, or Kamala Harris had said this, or Barack Obama had said this, what would the reaction be on Fox News? What would the reaction be in Congress? This is really, really serious stuff. John, throwing it to
Yeah,
you.
no, and I agree with everything you said, Bernie. It's interesting that and you do make it's good that you drew the distinction on how he died. He was brutally murdered, and I can't imagine a worse way to die than being stabbed to death by someone you brought into this world and loved and raised. It shocks the conscience. It shocks normal people's conscience. With Trump, it's a sort of an opportunity to get into the last rib kick there before the body's even cold yet. But it was interesting. Just sort of on a side note, some of the reactions to this, and I think this is worth talking about. As the news came in on this story on Sunday night, you couldn't find any notable right-leaning people who were celebrating what happened or even minimizing it.
Right.
Rob Reiner's, he was very much a left-wing guy. He had a lot of disparaging things to say about Republicans for many years. Yet almost everyone on the right was not only offering their condolences, but sort of kind of even congratulating each other on not turning ugly, like we saw
John,
after.
John, let me jump in for a second.
Mhm.
That's all well and good, and
Mhm.
you're more plugged into social media than I am.
Right.
How many of them were flat out condemning what Donald Trump said on Truth Social?
Oh, yeah, I'm actually going to get to that because it was this was all before Truth Social. So Donald Trump weighed in hours later. So at the time, everybody was
Got it.
sort of kind of was being very decent, and in fact, I saw a lot of folks outright say online, we aren't, we on the right are not like those terrible lefties. None of our leaders are going to disparage Rob Reiner and in the wake of his death. And then, as you said, Bernie, just a few hours later, Trump did exactly that in this really despicable way. And it was really sad. While there were some people who pointed out, a number of people who pointed out, okay, this is too much from Trump. You also had a lot of people after seeing what Trump said, who kind of started they changed their tune. These very same people who were saying nobody on the right was going to do this, and then they kind of came to this conclusion that, well, Rob Reiner was very mean to Trump. He said some very nasty things, and so Trump really is justified in what he's saying here. It's pathetic.
I mean, it's horrible. What you just said is absolutely horrible. And it's not enough, my MAGA friends. Very few MAGA people are listening to this, but some are. It's not enough to say he's better than the alternative. That's just not enough. Even if he is better than the alternative, and that's a debatable point. I wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. But it's not enough to say, well, they're worse. Do you understand what this is about? I mean, this is a man who can't show an ounce of empathy for people who are stabbed to death because they said, Rob Reiner said bad things about him. It's always about him. Every freaking thing is about him. If you want to, it's not about policy. It's not even about politics. Because if it's about politics, this is another stupid thing. Because how do you think independents are going to feel about this? I mean, the midterms are a year off, 11 months off. And a lot of things can and will happen between now and then. But you think this kind of stuff helps? It does not help him. It does not help America. It does not help the Republican Party. And you know what? I wrote a column the other day about two of my friends who passed away within a few days of each other. And I said, I don't like saying bad things about Donald Trump, but son of a gun, he doesn't make it easy. He doesn't make it easy to not condemn him because he is a horrible, horrible person. Horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I hear you. And I'll tell you,
I'm sounding irrational myself, but I'm not the president of the United States. If I go a little off the deep end, that's one thing. If the president of the United States goes off the deep end, that's something else entirely.
Yeah, and it's something too. And this has always bothered me. I've always found it pretty insulting when I see fellow Christians. I'm a Christian, and even Christian leaders really hail Trump as this man of deep faith, and they
Yeah,
assign these Christian values to him, and it's all nonsense. And stuff like this is a reminder of that. That's not who Trump is. He doesn't understand grace. This isn't the first death he sort of, got used these, John, remember what he said about John McCain. He said some things about another from a congressman, a Democratic congressman, but this is way worse. I mean, this was a brutal murder of somebody, and Trump doesn't value life the way that Christians do. He just doesn't.
you're absolutely right. I remember you mentioned his reaction to John McCain. That was 2015, I think, maybe 16.
A little bit later, yeah, a little bit later.
And I remember, and he said, he's not a hero. I don't like people who are shot down. He's only a hero because he's shot down.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, he was a hero because when the North Vietnamese said you could leave this prison camp where he was held for 5 years and tortured, they said you can leave long before the 5 years. He said, I'm not leaving without my men. We all leave or I'm staying. That's heroic. And I remember, John, I remember thinking at the time, his career just ended. He's done. I mean, I look stupid in retrospect. Nothing he does, and including this will be in our rearview mirror next week, like everything else is in the rearview mirror. Well, it's just who he is. He's just talking. It's no big deal. I don't expect his MAGA pals on Fox News to come out and do a whole show and saying he's losing his grip on reality. But there are some people who are his friends and who like to see themselves as journalists. If you think you're a journalist, speak up, and not saying, well, I wouldn't have said it that way. That's not enough. And that's not enough for members of Congress either. It's not enough to say, well, that's not the way I would talk. No, either condemn it or you are bad also. Okay, let's move on to poll numbers, which sort of are going to get worse, I think, after this, but we'll see. Trump is losing his base. Two numbers, 31%, a measly 31% approve of Trump on economic matters. What helped economic matters helped get him elected president, and only 31% approve. 38% support him on immigration. Those were the two issues, immigration and the economy. And now he's way underwater, way underwater. Now, why do only 38% support him on immigration? Well, it's an interesting, ironic thing. He did shut down the border. Hats off to Donald Trump. Give him credit. He did shut down the border. But when you solve a problem, you lose the political advantage that problem gave you. You follow what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, yeah.
In other words, when immigration was a problem, you had that over Democrats. Well, you solved it. Now it's not a problem. You know what is a problem regarding immigration? ICE. You want to get bad people out of the country, be my guest, everybody, even liberals, at least they say out loud, most of them, that we're not against it. I'm certainly not against it. But when you round up people who have been here for 20 years, they shouldn't have been let in the first place. If they snuck in, you should have got them out 20 years ago. But now they're here. They're living with their families. I know I sound like a bleeding heart liberal on this, but a lot of conservatives, I think you too, John, I think you do feel the same way. They're living, don't go after them. It's too late to go after them. And when you do, Mr. Trump, you lose support among people who used to support you. So you have 38% approval on immigration. I want to know what you think, John, but I want to know specifically, what are the implications for the midterms?
Oh, I think the Democrats are going to pick up huge seats in the midterms. I think they'll get back definitely the House. Senate's going to be a little trickier, but I would not be surprised. I mean, this is a big deal, like you said. It keeps going back to the main reason for me. Well, not for me, but I think the numbers show that Trump won last year because it cost too much. Things cost too much under Biden. That was the big thing. The border was probably the second biggest issue, though I think it couldn't even touch the economy. But regardless, Trump won. He got the border under control pretty quickly. Like you said, he deserves credit for that. And at that point, I honestly think he could have done pretty much nothing else, at least domestically, and been in pretty good shape right now with the American people. But he was trying, instead he has been trying to completely overhaul the U.S. economy. Some would say the world economy with his trade war. Those results have been disastrous. And you bring up the point of ICE. I think that's very important. So when they first started this initiative, the administration said they were focusing on criminals. They were focusing on people that's fine, get the criminals out of here. But then we started getting after that part of it was, I don't know if it was complete or if it's still happening, but by many people's estimation, including mine, he has gone too far since then. We've had these huge raids on businesses. We've had these masked agents mistakenly arresting U.S. citizens in some cases, sometimes based on how they look, and detaining them for days. They've been nabbing up people who are actually in the process of getting their citizenship, like they show up to do their green card interview and they get arrested by ICE agents, and it's quite ugly. You see people. There's video of it everywhere because everybody has a camera on their phone these days. You have these social media clips of people being pepper sprayed and shoved down to the cement. Trump's, I believe his disapproval rating among Hispanic Americans now is like over 70%. This was a big group that helped get him elected just last year, and it's not doing him any favors as far as his ratings go.
And this gets back to something I mentioned in the first section. Where are all the Republicans? Why do they remain silent about this? They need to speak up. Because, Donald Trump isn't going to get elected for a third term, even if he would like to serve a third and fourth and fifth term.
Yeah, I've been saying, go ahead.
The Republicans running for office are the ones who are going to pay a price for this. They need to speak up, and they need to do it. They need to get together and speak in one voice and say, go into the White House and say it if you don't want to do it publicly, and say, Mr. President, J.D. Vance needs to say it. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting our party. This has a bad look. And you know why they don't do it? Because they're afraid of him and because they know he doesn't listen to anybody.
Yeah, and they're afraid of being primaried out. They're not so much afraid of general elections, and that's what Trump will do. He's done it so many times, over the years. He's been successful at it. He's not great at getting people elected in general elections, but he's really good at getting people knocked out of primaries, incumbents who stand up to him. That's why there's so very few that are left right now in Congress. And yeah, I don't think J.D. Vance is going to be the voice of reason on this. I think he's got a lot of problems himself. I wouldn't expect that to happen. Mike Pence might have been, but he's out of the picture. So I don't expect, maybe things after a terrible midterm next year, which most people are predicting. Maybe you'll get some more people in the Republican Party who will grow a spine after all these years, but I'm not even convinced about that. I mean,
neither am I. The people have to understand fear is a real thing. I mean, if you're in grade school and there's a bully, you understand fear. People are afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid of what he will say, how he will humiliate them, how he will primary them. And they don't have the courage, most of them, not all, but most of them, don't have the courage to say, if I lose the election and I have to go back home and get a real job, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not remaining silent anymore. Okay, and neither are you and I, John. I want to go on to our last topic. His never-ending obsession with the press. It's one thing, and it's a one stupid thing to refer to reporters as piggy, as stupid, or ugly, ugly inside and out, as he put it to one reporter. That's just plain stupid. But in this most recent social media post, the one about Rob Reiner, he also took off on the press. They libel and demean, in capital letters now, the President of the United States. Of course, when he's talking about himself, it must be in capital letters because he's the President of the United States. And why are they libeling and demeaning him? Because they are true enemies of the people, and we should do something about it. This is the key point. Do something about it. Like what? Like what, Mr. President? Throw them in prison? How about deport journalists that say nasty things about you, things you don't like? Should we imprison them? Should we deport them? And you know, I am convinced that if you, Donald Trump, could get away with it, you would do it. You would do it. There's another point of view on this from the Media Research Center, which I'm not going to get into my feelings about them. I think it's fun. Tim Graham, smart guy for the Media Research Center, said, I think it's fine to wish for a president to set the tone of civility. Give him that. Give Tim Graham that. But the Bushes and Romneys did that, and they were still compared to Hitler and slaveholders and whatnot. That's why Republicans want a leader who pushes back on the press for pushing hostile narratives on behalf of the Democrats. I get it. It's not an unreasonable point Tim Graham made. But you can't say journalists are seditious and treasonous because somebody's going to take a shot at them. Somebody is going to they took a shot at you, Mr. President. Somebody's going to take a shot at a journalist. And when that happens, if and when that happens, blood is going to be on your hands, Donald Trump. And that's not a crazy scenario that somebody's going to take a shot at a journalist. You keep calling them treasonous and seditious and enemies of the people. Something bad can happen.
So yeah, no, you brought up the argument that Tim Graham made in his piece. So yeah, what his argument is basically just textbook whataboutism. You know, although I'd say it's even weaker than that because Tim is defending a U.S. president's conduct by whatabouting this liberal media composite figure. You know, let me just say, I know you didn't mention much about the Media Research Center. Tim has been a huge disappointment to me in the Trump era, and he's well aware of my thoughts on that. I've let him know. I used to have a much higher opinion of him and the Media Research Center, aka Newsbusters, but they went from being this very useful resource for exposing the very real problem of liberal media bias to this sort of, you know, how dare they reactionism against.
Totally agree. Totally.
Yeah, against the critics of Trump and Trumpism, regardless if those critics are liberals or conservatives. In this piece, it was Tim going after Jonah Goldberg, who was making a perfectly reasonable point. But what he is absolutely right about is that you know, there were liberals in the media who were totally unfair to Bush and Romney. They said very nasty things about those guys and other morally decent Republican leaders. We all remember it. And yes, there were a lot of Republican voters who didn't like that Bush and Romney took the high road above it all, and they didn't get down in the mud with their lowest detractors. But what Tim is doing here, again, I read his entire column, is rationalizing behavior that he would otherwise find totally unacceptable in order to give Trump a partisan pass. He's saying that because of media hostility toward Republicans, Donald Trump, again, the president of the United States, should be held to no higher standard of conduct than that of his worst media critic. I think that's, again, a weak argument. A U.S. president should absolutely be held to a higher standard than a Keith Olbermann or some YouTuber who's out there calling him Hitler. And the behavior of those individuals, the far left media nuts, should not have any bearing on how Trump treats, you know, these journalists on Air Force One that he calls piggy or in a press conference, who are usually asking him totally fair questions. And when he doesn't like those questions, he calls them names. And I don't see the connection between just, taking the worst of one side and saying it's okay to sort of deflect that in this other area and call them whatever you like.
These always Trumpers, are they acting all that different from never Trumpers? Never Trumpers won't give Donald Trump credit for anything, including for shutting down the border. If Donald Trump did it, they're against it. But the always Trumpers can't find anything wrong with him. Well, the other side is worse. Let's say the other side is worse. Is getting close to what they do okay because they're worse? Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, and one part of the argument that we didn't bring up here, that Tim also, he said this is additionally okay, basically, that Trump treats media people like garbage because his supporters like it when he does it. Which is, of course, again, an argument that they would never, Tim would never make for the other side. It's sort of a justification. I'm like, okay, I get it, but what does that mean? I mean, Trump, it wasn't just, people might want to remember too, it wasn't just the left-wing media that was really nasty, said really nasty things about Bush and Romney and McCain. It was Donald Trump too. He parroted what they said. A lot of the same criticism, a lot of this, calling them war criminals, all that stuff. He did that himself. So again, I don't know why Trump should be the beneficiary of what those guys were called by the media when he was calling them the same thing. So it's a very confusing argument to be made.
This leaves me with my final comment, and then you can have the last word in saying goodbye, because Donald Trump has ruined my week. Now, he hasn't ruined my week, because as I wrote in my last column, I'm not letting him ruin my week. Yeah. I'm going to laugh about stuff other people tell me. I'm going to go outside and take in some sunshine. I'm not letting Donald Trump ruin my week, and don't let you people listening to us ruin your week. But this gets to a point I've made over and over and over again. Principles are either dead or on their deathbed. They are near death, if not already dead. It's true of Democrats who won't give Donald Trump credit for anything. They don't have principles. And it's true of Republicans who won't stand up to Donald Trump and think the only thing that they have to say and do is support their leader. Wrong. Principles matter.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those who have shown principles in this era are pretty much gone from politics now, and we see that on both sides, Kirsten Sinema on the left, people like that, people on the right, they get chased out of politics by these two major political parties that are really a huge mess right now.
If you want to remind people that the Christmas is coming up, John, and Hanukkah is already here, about our website, go ahead, and then I'm saying goodbye.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just again, we have this great sale going on, 50% off an annual membership. We hope you'll take advantage of it. It ends at the end of December, this sale. So we hope you sign up. And I will just say, Bernie, I wasn't gonna mention this. I'll just mention it a little bit right now. Some people that have signed up before see that we do have this top tier membership category for founding members. We are looking at something very special for them coming up. I'm talking to Bernie about it, but there's going to be an interactive element to it, we believe, and we hope you'll think about that as well. But for now, that annual membership, you can't beat that price, $25 for an entire year. We hope you do it. And
please know that John and I appreciate very much the loyalty, if that's the right word, of people who read and listen to what we say. We certainly appreciate all of you. Have a happy Hanukkah. If we don't talk again, Merry Christmas, and bye for today.
Bye, everybody.